Negative feedback is the way we keep body conditions stable. Remember that a stimulus is a change in the environment and it can be either internal or external. For example, a drop in body temperature would be an example of a change in the internal environment. The counteracting response in this case would be shivering because this counteracts the drop in temperature to return the body to a set point. Counteracting just means to act in the opposite direction to a certain change in the environment to neutralize it. During negative feedback, a stimulus triggers a counteracting response to return the body to a set point. Negative feedback actually works in a cycle, so let's have a look at the steps in this cycle. Body temperature regulation is an example of a negative feedback cycle. Imagine a scenario where body temperature decreases and the body becomes too cold. As a result of being too cold, these two processes will happen. Shivering, which generates heat, and also vasoconstriction, which is when blood vessels on the surface of the skin constrict to minimize heat loss. As a result of these processes, the normal body temperature gets restored. This word restored means returns to normal. So what happens when we get too hot? Now imagine a scenario where body temperature increases and gets too hot. In this case, these processes happen. So sweating, which cools the body as it transfers heat to the environment as sweat evaporates, and vasodilation, which is when blood vessels on the surface of the skin expand to increase heat loss. As a result of these processes, the body temperature is restored to the normal level. So you can see that there is a cycle which restores normal body temperature if it gets too cold or too hot. So what else is controlled by negative feedback? The regulation of blood glucose is also an example of negative feedback. So let's quickly go over the steps involved in the regulation of glucose levels. We want to maintain the optimum level of glucose in our blood. If glucose levels get too low, then we find that glucagon is produced. This then restores the glucose back to the optimum level. If glucose levels get too high, then we find that insulin is produced. This also restores glucose levels to the optimum. So how can we summarize negative feedback cycles in general? All negative feedback cycles have the following steps in common. Firstly, the aim of these cycles is always to maintain the level of something within an optimum range. Remember, the optimum means the best or the ideal conditions. If the level of that thing is too low, then there's a counteracting response to return it to the optimum range. Equally, if the level of that thing is too high, then there's a counteracting response to also return it to the optimum range. So this is generally how a negative feedback cycle works. Which examples of negative feedback do you need to know about for the exam? There are many examples of processes that involve negative feedback in the body. For example, water levels, which are controlled by the kidney, glucose levels controlled by the pancreas, thyroxine, which is controlled by the pituitary, and temperature, controlled by the thermoregulatory center. Each of these examples are covered in detail elsewhere in the course.
Thanks for watching. If you want to take your GCSE revision to the next level, head over to launchpadlearning.com and check out our smart learning platform that's been designed to get you top results in your exams. We cover your whole specification and make revision fun with interactive quizzes, easy-to-follow videos, and more. You'll be kept motivated by your own AI tutor who's here to support you every step of the way. To check it out for yourself, click here. Or click here to keep watching a selection of the videos from our full GCSE Biology course. See you there!